Welcome to the Select Conference powered by UnitedMasters. I'm your moderator, Goldie Harris. Today, we're sitting down with James Rico, the director and founder of Reel Goats. Reel Goats is a four-man directing crew that DaBaby relies on for most of his music videos. Together, they ideate and create wild storylines, often mimicking the style of early 90s sitcoms. In addition to DaBaby, they've worked with Chance the Rapper, Roddy Ricch, and NBA Youngboy. And that's just to name a few. But I'm super excited to chop it up. I'm just going to jump right into it. James, let's start from the top. How did you get your start in music video production?
Well, appreciate it, Goldie, first. And music videos, I was in a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma, or I'm a part of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity in college. And we needed, I had a group of guys that wanted a music video. Some of my fraternity brothers, they had made a song about the fraternity, and they were at the time, I was just a videographer on campus. I was doing a lot of work with a university and for sports. I worked for the football team, Kansas State University. And so I was the only one in the fraternity that had any knack for photography. I was going to school for journalism. And I just knew I didn't want to be a part of journalism. Like, I felt like I loved what I learned from it. That wasn't the area that I wanted to focus on. So I always loved film, but being from Kansas, there is no filming, and there's like no filming department in that university, and there was no real group or exterior group that had it. And so, I kind of learned a lot of things on my own just by YouTube and web and kind of studying what film is on my own after graduating. And I made this music video for my fraternity, and it kind of caught buzz in the community. And I just started doing local artist music videos, and it kind of transferred into me traveling all over the world and doing all sorts of other projects, and eventually linking up with Baby.
That's dope. Is there like a particular film or music video that kind of inspired your creative journey?
It's kind of funny because I don't like growing up. I feel like everyone reflects on where they began, and each person tries to find what was the inspiration. And it's kind of hard to say. I would never want to say that, like, as a kid, I always knew that I was going to be like a filmmaker or something like that. I think as a kid growing up, again, in Kansas, like, you don't really have those aspirations. You love movies, you love TV shows. I watched tons of them. I'm an 80s baby, so I grew up through 80s television, 90s television, 2000, and I got to see the difference in each decade's looks for comedy. For whatever reason, I loved SNL, Mad TV, Seinfeld, Martin. So there was a wide range of things that I watched, but didn't really understand that I could do that myself. So if I had to put a name on one film, I would probably say Rocky, the Rocky story and the Rocky, the enterprise of Rocky, the franchise of Rocky. I for some reason love that whole story of someone that has fought and overcame stuff. Even Sylvester Stallone, as a writer director, had to overcome not wanting to be hired as an actor. So all that stuff, like, was really inspiring, and I think I always just look back at it because as a kid I remember crying when Mickey died. So, like, that was the first probably film that ever really touched me, and then after that everything else was just probably just inspiring along the way.
That's dope. I love how you guys played on Reel Goats, like a film reel, like a real goat. How did that team come together? How did you guys all meet each other?
It was very random, and like, it just kind of, I let the world or the universe attract most people that come into my life. My brother, I was freelancing by myself, and I tried to start a company with several different friends of mine, and it just wasn't working because I don't think they really wanted to pursue the freelance journey. I think freelancing is very difficult, especially when you're from like the Midwest. There's no real like direction, and like, okay, you could get on this set and you can get on this set. So a lot of times I was just jumping around job to job, and I was just doing music videos on my own. And as I couple years into it, I realized I needed to start to get on the set. So I met one of the guys. He's no longer working with us, but at the time he was one of the people that I brought on. We worked together quite often, and he was very young. He's like 20, and we started just kind of growing together. And then eventually, my brother, he was in between jobs. He had just moved back home to Kansas from another state, Ohio. And I was like, I need some more help. I want to help him out. He's my brother. And I was like, I think you're going to be good. You'd be good at this. He was in sales. So he was just like kind of naturally talented at talking to people, um, and having conversations with people. So I was like, okay, I knew that he could definitely learn this if I just teach him. So in Kansas, for about, a year, we're working together, and but we weren't working in Kansas. I was traveling everywhere. I had understood that I need to get out of Kansas to start working with other people. So I would fly them with me. We'd find like the cheapest flights, and we'd go to LA for a while, like 2 weeks, try to find work. We would travel to North Carolina at the time. I'd already known Baby Jesus, who was DaBaby now, and I was starting to work with artists out in Charlotte and starting getting kind of known out there. So collectively, we just eventually knew we needed a name, obviously, and forever we were trying to figure it out. And I think the idea of a mascot, and to your point, the film reel just made sense. I didn't want it to be too cheesy, but I also wanted to be fun and let people know that what type of people we are as individuals by just hearing the name,
Can you kind of break down who's on your team, and like, does everyone play a specific role?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my brother, he's our producer, and he handles. Once I have the treatment done, then I give it to him and let him do his thing and break it down and make sure that we can actually execute it. And yeah, so he's been a part of it the longest out of all of us. I want to say roughly 2016, so 4 years. Our production manager, who's also a friend of mine from Kansas named Shaq Gonzo, he helps my brother in producing. He helps him manage the actual project. He also helps me with creativity. He's a very smart guy. He's an artist that I met long ago, and I actually worked with, and I made music videos for him. And he's a music producer that he's on his journey of music. And I just kind of thought, again, naturally, it just makes sense to bring him a part of it because he loves music. He wants to be a part of it. I'm going to help him try to get his dream of being a producer in music, and so it just felt like it made sense. So he will help me with creativity sometimes because he's just a creative person. Our last guy is Gemini, and he's been with us the second longest. He's from Charlotte, where Baby's from, and he, along the way, watching me work in Charlotte, he reached out and wanted to be a part of it. So, I brought him on. He literally was just like, "I'll do whatever you want," and we brought him on. We trained him as a second camera operator. So whenever we tour, whenever we do anything with Baby or any artist that needs a second camera, he's there operating. He's a second editor for us. He also is a creative. He writes treatments. He also does producing. So he's a very well-rounded individual and kind of could play any part that he wants to play. I forgot to mention too, my brother Spicy is the photographer for Reel Goats, so he does all the photography in terms of taking photos for Baby, or he took the photos for Baby on Baby. He did a photo for the Kirk album, which actually ended up being last minute they changed it to Baby's actual photo with his father, and then Blame It on Baby, he took that cover photo as well.
So, can we talk about the importance of building a strong team?
I mean, I think most people, as freelancers, it's like a very lonely journey, and going along that way, you want to find people that you believe in, people that believe in you. You want to find people that are dedicated to understanding that it's a long journey. So first and foremost, I think it's trust and like whether or not you get along with somebody. I think it's very important that you guys are friends. I think it's also important that you understand the difference between friendship and business. So if we were to get on each other or like check each other, then the understanding that it's for the betterment of the actual team. It's not a personal thing. We're not trying to, get on each other, say I'm better than you or I know more than you or any of that. It's more about look at yourself as a sports team. Anybody that has played sports, they train together, they eat together, they travel together. They go through losses and wins. And in the end, the teams that are champions are the ones that work the hardest, the ones that focus the most, the ones that get up in hours that they don't want to get up. They go to sleep in hours they don't want to go to sleep. They work way more than they want to. And in the end, it pays off because they see how much, rewards come through all that hard work. So building a team that you trust is extremely important for not only your aspirations and goals, but just mentally, being able to look at that person and say, like, I know that you have my back and I got yours, and letting them know that you care about each other. It's I being a part of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, I understood brotherhood and what that can do if you really trust the people that are around you. And it could be brothers or sisters, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't have to be just all male, but.
Weird. I feel that completely. I played college basketball, so when you talk about college, you talk about like, Greek life and just being a part of a team, it all makes sense. So you created, some of the best music videos with DaBaby over the last 2 years or so. How did you start working with him?
It's a crazy, wonderful journey that eventually led to what it is now. I think it's always one of those deals that I look back at it and I'm like, it's like that whole meant to be mentality, or that whole putting yourself in the right place, right time. I was in South by Southwest 2016, I believe, and it's either 2015 or 2016. Regardless, we're at South by Southwest, and I was at a show. I was just walking around the grounds of Austin, and came across a venue, and they were promoting an artist on XXL that was going to be in there, named Deniro Farrar. And when I went inside to see it, I wasn't sure who he was. I just heard XXL. I knew the name XXL. This is the first time I've been to South by Southwest. So I just was interested in being a part of whatever I could be. I didn't have a wristband or anything. I was just there just to walk around. So when I went and saw the show, Deniro came out. He brought Baby Jesus out, and DaBaby, and he opened for him. And I was in love with both of their music. So I tried reaching out to Deniro, actually, because I thought that song that DaBaby had played on stage was Deniro's song. Deniro is an amazing artist himself, but and he had the whole set. So I tried reaching out to him. He ran off stage so quickly I couldn't get to him. So after the show, I seen DaBaby passing out all these CDs and passing out cards and stuff. So I went up to him. I figured he was just passing out Deniro's music, and I said, "Hey, here's my business card. Could you get that to Deniro?" I was like, "You're his manager?" And then he goes, "Oh, no." I was like, I'm an artist too. So I said, "Oh, okay. Well, here's my card." And he gave me his CD. Afterwards, I drove down to Texas from Kansas. So on the way back, I listened to both Deniro's and Baby Jesus' music. And I loved both of them so much, I tried to reach out to him on Twitter. And I connected with DaBaby quickly through that. And we just stayed in contact for a while. I worked with Deniro for probably a little bit under a year before me and DaBaby actually worked together on Light Show. Was our first production that we actually ended up working on, and that was done down in Miami. And from the jump, it was definitely something special.
That's dope. Can we talk about your approach to your music videos with him? What's your creative process when you're coming up with the treatments? Like, do you look back at like music videos like Busta Rhymes and so forth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I had just given a talk on the creative process and the writing process like a couple weeks ago, and it really challenged me to think of like, well, what is really the process? Because along the way, you develop it. So the creative process for us, I feel like, is literally just listening to the song thousands of times. I feel like DaBaby, usually when he has an idea of, if he has a bunch of music that he's just sending me, sometimes he just wants to send me a lot of music just to see what I think, and I'll tell him the songs that I love. Uh, with each big song that we did, I felt like we always knew that the song would be big. I felt like he always knew what he wanted in terms of like, this is the song that will be the one. And even every other song outside of that, there was always that intention of like, this could go crazy if we just put that passion and love in it. So a lot of times he'll have an initial idea, just a kind of a concept of, I'll use an example for Suge. He wanted to be a mailman, and that's all he had. So I was kind of thinking, okay, well, how do I build from there? And I listened to the song. I came up with my own ideas. I felt like it would be interesting to see Suge in an office setting. Like, what would Suge Knight look like in an office setting? So, combining both those ideas and then, developing it along the way. We're heavily. I constantly ask for his opinion when it comes to certain things about the video that are going to be big. So I write out all my ideas. We write a proper treatment, anywhere from 15 to 20 pages. And then from there, we kind of just dissect it, make sure that it's what we want, and see if he okays it, he approves it. And from there, we just start producing. The actual inspiration from it, I feel like we watch things that are to the liking of whatever genre we're trying to make. So for Rockstar, there was a zombie theme, so we watched as many zombie things as we possibly could to see what we liked, what we didn't like about them. For Bop, it was something that was inspired off of Austin Powers, the idea that in his openers of those, people would be flocking to him or attracted to him, and we felt like at the time that's what Baby was happening. Everything was happening to Baby this way. Like, people were just couldn't get enough of him as an artist, and they just loved his presence. And so, that's the direction it went. I think each time we're always feeling something from film or shows, but we always try to adapt it and make it something more original for us. So we're just being inspired. We're not trying to steal anybody's idea. We're not trying to come up with anything. And if things feel and look like certain videos, then, I'm not thinking that. I'm not studying a music video and saying, oh, we got to have this kind of shot like this, or we got to have this kind of lighting or whatever. I think it's literally just because of all the media and films that we watch over the years, you have already some kind of feeling of what you want it to go, and what did you want it to feel like and look like. So you kind of end up developing your own version of that.
So on a technical side, just so I feel like a lot of young directors would want to know this, what is your go-to camera and your go-to lens?
Yeah, I used to be a huge gearhead, and I used to be obsessed with everything. My go-to camera for documentary is probably the Blackmagic Mini Ursa right now. I think that it's a great doc camera that it gives you the color space that you want. It gives you the resolutions that you want. It gives you it gives you things that I feel like a lot of people don't want to take the risk on with the camera, and I feel like it's underutilized. I think it's a great production camera for documentary work, music videos. That was some of our early stuff, our early work, that we would always just focus on that, just because we were limited to budget and we had to figure out ways to make quality be there, and just didn't really like the DSLR route or the mirrorless camera route, because it felt like everyone's looked this way. Nowadays, our go-to camera is the Alexa Mini or the Lexa Mini LF, which is the newer version of a full frame version of the Mini. And the lenses we go to for the LF are RE Signature primes, which are like incredible lenses. They were used on 1917, and the Mini LF was also used on this film. So if you ever want to reference what it looks like, that's what it is. Roger Deakins, a legend, stands by it. Say, hey, Roger Deakins stands by it. I stand by it. And then other lenses that we'll go with, we play around. It just depends on, it really depends on the actual project, but for the most part, that's what we've been using.
Got it. What project do you believe really shifted your career and why?
I think you always see transitions in your career. I think each person could say this. I mean, there's these moments where you feel your life transitioning. You feel like you're testing yourself, or the world is testing you in some manner to get you to the next level. And I think that happened to us like 3 times last year. I feel like Walker, Texas Ranger, Suge, and Bop were 3 really amazing productions that each one shifted us to another level. Walker, Texas Ranger, in my opinion, was one that reconnected me and DaBaby. We had taken some time off and couldn't connect because we were doing our own thing. He was touring a lot through high schools, and he was going around a lot of shows in the Carolinas and just doing what he needed to do on his end as an artist and promoting himself. And I was working in the film industry in LA trying to figure it out. So Walker, Texas Ranger, I felt like was something that reconnected us and allowed us to show the comedy and explore music videos. Suge was just a bigger version of this and was the thing that I felt like really took off for both Baby and us. And then Bop was a true testament of like trying to handle a really big set and going as a production crew, handling over 100 people is intense. You go from working with 3 or 4 people on set to then now over 100 people, and you're like, wow, like this is intense, and that learning experience is something that I could never ask for as someone that came through, came from Wichita. It's like it's definitely near and dear to my heart for all 3 of those.
For sure. So the new wave of music video directors, they're not only providing a service, but they're also building platforms of their own. So we'll think of like Cole Bennett and Lyrical Lemonade, kind of like releasing music videos and content on the director's YouTube instead of the artist, building your own subscribers and followers. On the Reel Goats YouTube account, you guys are breaking down some of your music videos, and you guys have a ton of other content. Why do you think it's important to build your own platform, and how has it benefited you?
In the end, you want to be able to undeniably say that whatever you're trying to pitch in a project, and in your end goal of making a film or making a show or whatever your goal is in the industry, I feel like having that brand is just like any other person. An artist having a brand allows them to secure projects and deals that will take them to another level. So, Cole is a great friend of ours, and he's a great example of someone that developed a massive following, a massive brand through his YouTube, his Instagram, and he's able to then connect bigger dots, working with one of the coolest things that I've seen him do was work with Jordan Brand, and so it's that concept of like it's a long game, and you want to be able to stay in it for a long time. So showcasing, giving content and building some kind of following and letting the fans know that you do care about them and that they are helping you grow and be more creative is extremely important. And it's just trying to find that balance of how do you grow and how do you become more original on your own. So it's not like you're, again, trying to take what other people are doing and just do it. You're seeing the blueprint and recreating it. Is trying to find your own way of becoming a brand.
For sure. And then my last question is, what's some advice that you want to give some young, aspiring music video directors and filmmakers in the game right now?
Man, I always tell people this on my Instagram. Whenever I go live, I love going live with people and just like hearing their stories. And I'm always just letting people know that they just have to believe. I feel like it's just the sheer belief in yourself is going to take you a long way. I think there's plenty of other people out there in the world that are great at what they do, that they promote the same concept of belief. I think there were so many days that I wanted to give up, along the way. And I just knew if I didn't, and I just kept going and just kept going and kept improving and kept staying motivated, that at some days it's gonna be worth it. And to see it happen, it still is like one of those things that I'm living within it. So I know that it has, but it's not done, So I know after accomplishing what I have so far, that I have so much more aspirations and dreams. So as long as I have the belief, I have the love for it, then I'll be able to survive like the journey of filmmaking and being a part of whatever industry that I end up being a part of, whether or not I stay in music or I go to film and TV. It's that sheer belief of that you're talented enough and you're strong enough to actually do it.
So, yo, you dropped a ton of gems. I wish I had more time, but this is, our time limit. Thank you so much for tapping in with the Select Conference and UnitedMasters. Again, I'm your host, your moderator, Goldie Harris. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, you guys. Appreciate you being a part of it.
Peace out.